Warriors take the stand. From shore to shore we reclaim the land. Grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore we make our stand.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jersey Shore Podcast. That's S-U-R-E, because we are always shore. Brought to you by the great America's Pulse Network. I have a great guest that's coming on tonight, and we'll get to that soon. But I'm your host, Damon Galdo, and I want to get to the breaking news first. And the breaking news, everyone already sees it, but the shutdown has been ongoing over and over again. I think we're like 40 days in. But now they did a test vote, and it looks like they're going to open up the government maybe by about 36 hours, so maybe in a few days. So that's a good thing. And we got a lot of breaking news going across the bottom, so you guys can just look at the ticker tape going through there. There's a lot of things going on, but I really want to go to this monologue, and I want to get to this special guest because there's a lot of important things to talk about. So what I would just want to say, we are we're at a point in New Jersey. Obviously, we just lost the election to Mikey Sherrill, and we'll get into that. And this is why this is important. And I mean, our children, I'm talking 5, 6, 7 years old, are being taught things that would have gotten a teacher fired a decade ago. I mean, they're not learning math or science first. They're learning about gender identity, masturbation, sexual behavior, under the state's so-called health standards. And that's the state's health standards. And that came from Murphy. And now we have Mikey Sherrill who's going to continue that, which is a problem. This isn't about tolerance anymore. This is about indoctrination. They're pushing an ideology that confuses children about who they are before they even understand what the word gender means. And it's being backed by state policy 5756, that literally tells schools to hide this from parents. There's 2 sets of records, secret names, secret pronouns. That's not education, that's deception. And I'm a father of 2, and I'm not standing for it. And everyone out there that's listening right now, you shouldn't either. Now, I'm going to say this straight. I don't care what an adult does in their personal life. You can love who you want, identify however you want. I mean, that's America. But when the government and public school system start sexualizing and reprogramming kids, that crosses a moral line every parent should stand against. Tonight, we're joined by Nikki Stouffer from the New Jersey Project. Very important thing that she's a co-founder of, and that started in New Jersey. And she's one of the loudest and bravest voices fighting to defend parental rights and to protect children from all this madness. She's been out on the front lines exposing the curriculum. She's one of the first persons I heard it from, and also the state mandates and the lies being told to parents. So before I bring her on, I'm going to play a video clip just to get started to give you guys an idea about what is going on.
Believe in yourself, in the magic you hold, with your courage and time, let your story be told. Believe in yourself, let your voice be heard. Tiny divas believe you can change your world. Self-remember self in the magic you hold, with your courage and talent, let your story be told. Believe in yourself in the magic you hold, with your courage and talent, let your story be told. Believe in yourself, in the magic you hold, with your courage and talent, let your story be told. In the magic you hold, with your courage and talent, let your story be told. Believe in yourself, let your voice be heard. Tiny divas believe you can change your world. Self-remember self in the magic you hold, with your courage.
Now, with that video there, I'll let Nikki talk about it as soon as I bring her on. But before I bring her on, I want to just put the slide up of the New Jersey Project right here. That is the New Jersey Project that she is a co-founder of and has been working very hard for the children of New Jersey. So let me introduce in the first segment, Nikki Stouffer. How you doing?
Hi, Damon. Thank you for that gracious introduction.
No, you're welcome. You've done a lot of great work, and this segment, this hammer segment, as we call it now, is called the Indoctrination of Innocence.
Yeah.
So if you want to explain that video and just start with why you started the New Jersey Project.
Yeah, so that video was of a 4th through 6th grade school in Lawrence, New Jersey that, had a pride parade because people think it's appropriate to start teaching kids about sexuality and gender identity starting in the 3rd grade. Explain to them what trans is, explain to them what non-binary, pansexual, polysexual, all these different sexual types of words. And you'll hear from the people who want to indoctrinate them that it's actually not true, that it's nothing about sex. But it's kind of funny that it's nothing about sex, and sex is exactly in the name of the thing that they're talking about.
Yeah.
If it wasn't about sex, we wouldn't be having this conversation and people wouldn't be outraged. If it was about anything else, they're too young. It's too young. And they say these things, well, they're going to learn it on the internet anyway. They're going to learn, but the garbage that's on the internet, the trends that have happened on the internet are now all of a sudden in the classroom being reinforced by teachers saying, yeah, sure, you can be, a demi girl or a demi boy, and coming up with all these different types of, it's ridiculous. They made up all these things, and now instead of just some sort of fantasy fever dream in college, now it's being shown to elementary school children all the way through high school.
So at what age? Where is this starting at?
I have slide presentation, but I just want to let people know that I didn't start this originally just about, I'm not over focused on sexuality. I focus on parental rights, and I wanted to get the masks off the kids in 2021 because they remained on the masks in the masks until February of 2022. It was 2 years. They were forced to either be locked down, stay at home, stuck online with their phones, which caused a lot of mental illness. Couldn't go out. We couldn't go to grocery stores, and people forget what it was like in 2020, in 2021, and 2022 for those kids. Sitting in 2021 in January, in December in 20-degree weather with the windows open. While I'm at home nice and warm, and they're sitting in class with a mask on and the windows open in freezing cold temperatures, expected to learn. It was just ridiculous. And they didn't learn. You can see it by the scores. They're a mental wreck. And then in 2020, Murphy shuffled all this sex ed stuff through the Board of Education, mandated by the Board of Education. It's not a law. Your kids don't have to learn this stuff. And it was just pushed straight down onto the kids. Meanwhile, while they're being mentally messed with in school every day with with arrows on the floor where they had to go, telling them that if they breathe too hard, they're going to kill their best friend.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, one thing he did say is that people say that they can see it online or on the internet anyway. But okay, well, that can be controlled by parents. When they're in school and the teachers are teaching it, then that they can't be controlled by parents. I mean, well, it can be. They're putting up this fight, but if you don't know about it,
right,
then someone else is raising your child. And I always say it to my buddy Mike, and I heard you say it before. We don't co-parent with the government.
Yeah. And the NJEA really pushes this stuff really hard too, and you don't co-parent with them either. Neither do I.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that it has to be like this. And everybody wants to call you homophobic, this phobic, transphobic, that phobic. I just think there's a time and a place for information to be told to children by their parents based on their maturity level that their parents. No one knows a child better than the parent who lives in the house with them. And the school cannot replace you and can't do as good enough job as you do. Are there terrible parents? Sure. But I can't run around assuming every parent is terrible and expect the state to take care of that. We have a department for that. There's family services. If there's a problem in the child's household, that's their job to investigate. It's not the school's job to determine that, your child needs to learn these things. And, we just elected a governor who thinks that, you should be forced to teach children.
Yeah, I know. And anything that's government run, I'm a believer in, less government is better. So, but it seems like anything the government actually regulates and dictates, it gets worse and worse for
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
And
I
that's,
make a better decisions for myself as an individual than the state ever can, especially when it came to the vaccines.
yeah,
Because, they pushed that on everybody and we all know how that turned out.
yeah.
So, you make the individuals, I mean, that's, I thought, was the basis of the founding of the United States. Individuals protecting the individuals make the best decisions for themselves, and they shouldn't, and those decisions should not be thrust upon them by the states, particularly, education of children, the raising of children. You have the right to direct the upbringing of your children. It's part of the Constitution. We focus, United States should be on, we're not a collective. We're not the Borg. We're not socialists. We're not communists. We are individuals, get to think for ourselves. And even though the schools are run by the government, that doesn't mean that they can direct the upbringing of your child. And teaching your kid about sexuality, especially, I mean, this isn't where do babies come from? What is puberty like? Sex ed has well passed the Rubicon of what would be traditionally thought of when we were kids. Like, it's well beyond that. They're coming up with these new ideas that are new, and they'll tell you, oh no, they're old. You'll be gaslit into being told, well, your child needs to know this. Like, did you know it? You seem to make it through.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this stuff. You see, I made it through just fine. You
Yeah.
learn things at a particular age. I learned a lot of stuff in college. I think most of the stuff, that's where it belongs. Not in elementary school, certainly not in kindergarten.
Well, if you have to be 18 years old to vote and buy cigarettes or whatever it may be, there's a lot of stipulations up to 18. Then there's some to 21 to buy alcohol. So why do you think it's okay? I'm not saying to you, but I'm saying to the listeners out there. Well, why do you think it would be okay to teach your kids about oral sex, anal sex, gender identity, being gay and lesbian? They don't even know who they are yet. I have this story I tell people all the time, and I don't want to keep telling it, but I'll tell it one more time. My son, when he was, he's 7 now, when he was 4, we watched the new Spider-Man movie that came out. And for a few minutes, he was having fun. He thought he was Spider-Man, slinging webs, just having fun. And then came to a point where I had to tell him, hey, buddy, you're not Spider-Man. You can't, that's not real. You can't be Spider-Man. And because I don't think if he climbed up on the rooftop, and if I told him he was Spider-Man, yes, you could be Spider-Man, and he thought he was. When he climbed up on the roof and tried to sling a web to the neighbor's house and go, I don't think it would work out well for him. So that's the thing. It's the simplest way I can put it to everyone that's listening out there. It really is. The kids don't know, and they're upstairs, so they can't hear me, but they still believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So and that's the whole thing. They have imaginary minds with everything. So if you groom a child, you can groom them to be whatever you want them to be.
And they keep on bringing things up that they're not ready to interpret yet. Like if
Exactly.
I walked in front of a class and I told them about Tourette's and tics and how if you're autistic, you can have stimming behaviors. Don't you think half the class would be doing those behaviors? They don't understand that that's not for them. That's certain people. So when you're telling them that some people can switch to boys and girls, don't you think that they go, oh, maybe I'm that person, particularly if they're autistic, because they don't feel comfortable in their own body. And I got to tell you, puberty is really hard for a lot of girls. It was really hard for me. I did not want to become a woman. You wake up one morning and you start having breasts and your hips are spreading and men are looking at you differently. And it's very uncomfortable. You just want to be a kid and you're either 11 or 12 years old and you don't want to be a part of this world where men have their tongue hanging out looking at you and you really don't want to be a woman. But it doesn't mean you want to be a man either. And so you have these confused girls through puberty, which is a really difficult time. I had a really difficult time and I was a tomboy and it was very difficult for me. And my dad always said that if somebody came along and gave me an easy out of puberty and would have said, you know what, you don't have to go through puberty. We can stop it right now. You can get your breasts taken off and you can be a man and no one will look at you that way. I might've taken it. But that wasn't an option. And you get through it. That's the thing that these kids don't understand. Growing up is uncomfortable. Your body changing is uncomfortable. Going from a child to an adult is uncomfortable, and then you're telling them these things at an uncomfortable time in their life, and they go, well, maybe I should do that. Maybe that's the decision. And kids aren't known for making the best decisions. So I don't understand why this is being presented to them at all as a choice. It's not, they don't get to choose certain stuff when you're little. You don't, because you don't make good decisions. Your frontal cortex isn't even closed into your prefrontal cortex isn't even closed until you're 25. Like, they're not known for great decisions. So why we would thrust all this responsibility upon them? And then when the teachers are talking to the kids, especially the NJEA was this weekend, the way they talk to the kids about sexuality, they get together to talk about how they can present sexuality and gender identity to kids. Like, I don't want an adult 40-year-old man talking to my 16-year-old daughter about her sexuality, just like I don't want him talking to my 16-year-old son. It's not appropriate. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care what your things are. As an adult, there's certain boundaries you must uphold, and you need to not make those types of connections with children that are not your kids. Because when you start talking about that stuff, bad things happen. You blur the line, you blur the boundaries. You start talking about sexual stuff at a really young age. And then, they go over to the neighbor and you show them sexual pictures. You show them pictures of genitals. That's what they do in the school. That's part of the state standards, which I'll go over with you. I have a slide collection and I can go over with you. And then you present that. And then they go over to the neighbor kid's house and his older brother's on the computer looking at naked pictures. And he says, oh, come over. Why don't you look at them with me? You can't do this. It's confusing. You have to make sure that these things maintain in the home so they don't spread outside it. And then your kid becomes victimized at some point by somebody. And I realize that they think that they're helping kids because they think it's going to stop molestation. I just think it breaks down barriers and hurts kids and make them more susceptible to being victimized in the outside world.
Yeah, I never looked at it the way you described it about being a young girl transitioning to a woman and going through puberty, and it's a hard thing to go through because you everything changes.
It's really different. It's not
it's probably not as bad for men.
No, it's not. No.
But I never looked at it that way, and that's a good way to put it, because if you put something in someone's mind, and children, they want everything. I know for my kids, they want everything easy, especially nowadays. Everything's everything at their fingertips on their phone. They can get information easy, whatever it might be. But everything is done for them. I can barely get my kids to clean their room because they don't want to work hard and do anything. And I push them hard. I'm like, you need to work. You need to do this. You do that. But if you're someone that is going through going through puberty, and it's a hard thing to do, you're going to try to avoid it if somebody gives you an out and says, oh, well, you can get away from it. You don't have to go through it. You might be a boy, or you might be whatever it may be.
Or you might be non-binary.
Or non-binary, whatever.
That's also a choice that kids choose in school to identify as. And then the teachers put this in, or the schools put this in their record and then hide that from you, that your kid decided that they were non-binary. And maybe the kid's uncomfortable talking to you, or they're confused and they're not exactly sure what's going on. And then the school says, well, we'll just change it to non-binary, and you don't have to tell your parents if you don't want to. Like that's insane. I mean, I needed my parents to go through that. I needed my parents to tell me this will pass. It will get better. That's what they need to hear. Not, oh yeah, sure, we'll just make permanent changes to your body, or we'll just slow everything up. You can just be this non-binary person. And then who's supposed to figure that out? Who like when you've introduced these ideas to the kid and it messes them up, who's going to pick up the pieces when you screwed up that kid? Not the school. It's going to be the parent.
You're right. And so if someone told me I could be a kid forever, even as a 44-year-old adult right now, I'll be like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, me too.
So it's and their brains are not fully functional enough to. It's child abuse, is what it is.
Yeah, it really is. And when I can take you through all of the state standards and get to 5756, where they can transition your kid without your permission or not. And this is a social transition, not a medical transition. And everybody makes a big deal about, well, you're not giving a medicine, right? But socially transitioning is a psychological process where you live the life of the gender that you want to be before, and it's a step before you medically transition. And this should be directed by a doctor, and the parent and the school is just letting the kid direct their social transition by themselves, letting them go in the bathroom of their choice, play in the sport of their choice, listen to the sex ed of their choice. Like if you separate out the boys and girls for puberty and a boy decides that he's a girl, he can go and sit in a class about puberty and they will tell him about the reproductive system that he doesn't have and the period he's never going to get and the ovulation that he's never going to have. You know, and then and as a parent, you don't even know. He's not even learning about his own body. Like, how far do you want to take this? You know, it's a fantasy. How far do you want to take this fantasy?
No, you're right about that. And I don't. Before, if you want to walk through the slides for this segment, so because we're going to get to the next one, and I know I always screw it up. I forgot to tell everyone that this is just a part one of this because there's so much to go through about this. So. Nikki, you're going to be back on next Monday on the 17th. So everyone, make sure you.
Yeah, I'm back on the 17th. There's a whole rabbit hole you could go down for this stuff. It's deep, extensive. It is pushed by activists in New Jersey, and you know you don't know. I mean, parents walk into there not knowing, and a lot of times people will tell me this isn't happening in my school. It is. But there are people shielding your children from this because you have a superintendent who says, you know, we're not going to do this. Then you have a principal who says to the teachers, we're not going to do this. Then you have a teacher, you know, and even if it gets through those two, you'll have a teacher who looks at this and I'm not showing this garbage and toss it in the trash. The problem is when you end up getting a radical principal, a radical superintendent, a radical teacher who decides, you know what, this is what I can do. And they present it to your kid. It happens all the time. And all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? What the hell happened in the school? Well, that's what happened. The rules got through. These are the rules. These are what your kids are supposed to learn. And there's some teacher who finds it disgusting and is thrown in the trash can. And that's why your kid never gets it. Unlike those kids from that other school where they're having a full-on pride parade in 4th through 6th grade because everybody determined that it was okay for children to celebrate sexuality. And not that there's anything wrong with sexuality or different types of sexuality. It's just that sexuality just is not for 4th through 6th graders.
No,
it just isn't. You're no sexual, you know.
So if you want to walk through these slides, this is K
sure.
Right
so
here.
From K through 2nd, so there's a whole process that they start with their kids. So from anywhere from kindergarten through 2nd grade, and these are the state standards. This is what every school has to adopt within their curriculum. They are supposed to discuss the ways in which people express their gender identity and how gender role stereotypes may limit behavior. Can you imagine trying to explain that to a kindergartner? Like I'm a mathematician and my husband's better on the English side. If you were to start talking about gender role stereotypes and tell my kids that girls aren't good at math because that's a stereotype, they would look at you like you were a nut job because that's not their lived experience in my household. Okay. Yeah. So or that men cook or women do this or women, that's all just gender roles that are from a time and a place in history. And, you know, you don't, and they change throughout, like in Jesus's day, everybody wore a dress, right? Everybody, like nobody wore pants. So it's, these are things that change throughout the entire, you know, time. And you're going to sit here and try to explain to a kindergartner that doesn't even know what anything is, or a 1st grader or 2nd grader, they can't even read. And you're going to expect them to think about this type of topic that would be more appropriate for a college level class. And then they do things very strange, which they have the children list the names of their body parts, including their genitals. So they want your kindergarten to identify a penis, a vagina, not just that, like a vulva, labia, clitoris, you know, it's detailed, you know, testicles, penis, urethra, like, you know, these are things that are not for little kids. Like if you, and they're showing them pictures of genitals.
That's common sense. Like why? Why?
You know, it's crazy. And in Cherry Hill in the 1st grade, they decided to bring the kids in small groups down and show them a cartoon book and show them what the genitals look like on a boy and the genitals look like on a girl and have them define them. Like, do you think that's really appropriate? They need an adult, a non-parental adult showing them genitals in a book. And I realize they're cartoon drawn, but it's insane. And somebody thought that was a good idea and it was okay because the nurse did it. Like these people are indoctrinated into this idea, thinking it's a good idea, not realizing that it's a problem. You can go to the next slide. So by the 3rd to 5th grade, it really starts ramping up, and they explain to kids common human sexual development, which, you know, for the 3rd grade is, I think this should be in 6th grade. And the role of hormones. They talk about romantic and sexual feelings. They go over masturbations, mood swings, and time of pubertal onset. Like these kids are not old enough for that. Like they're not going through puberty. The fact that there was a woman whose kid was in the 3rd grade and she was flipping out because they were talking about wet dreams in class. Like that's not the time, and it's too young.
Yeah.
And then they tell you to identify trusted adults, which include your family members and also school staff. So now you can trust you to discuss your sexual feelings, your masturbation to school staff, which is completely out of line. And that's where it really gets crazy. And they start blurring their lines between being a parent and being school staff. They introduce these concepts starting early about sex and sexuality, and now you say to trust them. And then they have the kids also explain the relationship between sexual intercourse and human reproduction, and that's 3rd through 5th grade.
See, now, teachers that want to teach this, now you can see there are certain areas where pedophiles and sexual deviants, you know, they attract to a certain job. Whatever it may be.
Yes. Like sexual predators are around children. They find jobs around kids. That's what they do.
So who would want to do this other than people like that? That's how I look at it.
You know, they're under this impression that they're there to save the child from a sexual relationship with their parents, which is highly unlikely. Like, you know, when a child gets molested, it's usually by because, you know, it's not a parent, it's someone who's trusted by the child, which is a trusted adult at school, you know, a trusted adult who runs the roller skating rink. And these are things, I switched my kids to Catholic school. These are things in Catholic school that you wouldn't be allowed to discuss with children. Like this wouldn't be okay. It's not appropriate to discuss a child's sexuality or sexuality in general, or the details of the sexual stuff, and then claim yourself a trusted adult and taking away the parental authority of the parent.
You're right. And you know what gets me the most about this is the majority that I see, ones that want to teach this and think it's so important to teach it, are the ones that don't have children. They don't want to have children. They're the ones that believe in abortion, you know, to the 9th month, and they don't want to have children.
Teach your kids about abortion too.
Yeah, and they don't even have children, but they want to teach your kids about sex and
Right.
and
and have intimate conversations about the child. And then even people have they're well, let's go to the next slide. I'll get into that.
When they have intimate conversations with their cat on their couch, that's probably about it. So so in 3rd to 5th grade, still the state standards, you talk about the gender role stereotypes and their potential to impact on themselves and others, still implanting this seed into their brain about sexuality and gender roles, differentiate between sexual orientation and gender identity. Now they exactly know what the definitions are. And what's really disturbing is they demonstrate ways to promote the dignity and respect for all people. Not all people, it's specifically sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, because that's different. They learn that that's different. Race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, differing ability, immigration status, and family configuration. Like, so they got to promote dignity and respect. That's what they're supposed to do for things that maybe their parents don't agree with. Right.
And that's in the 3rd through 5th grade. Next slide. And then, you know, by the 6th, and here's the gender unicorn. So this is what's explained to your kids when they're talking to your kids about gender identity. They talk about the gender identity, whether you identify as man, woman, a girl, boy, you know, a man or non-binary. That's your identity. Your gender expression is how you dress, which is stupid because I constantly dressed in Henleys and jeans, and I don't really think that makes me a man. It does. I don't feel like a man. I dress like a 14-year-old boy. I don't identify as a 14-year-old boy. Who you're physically attracted to, men or women or other genders, because they're not men and women anymore. There's all these other genders. And then who you're emotionally attracted to. I mean, all these things should not be introduced to kids. No. It's just strange. Next slide. So by 6th to 8th grade, we've just gone off the deep end because we have the kids define vaginal, oral, and anal sex. So you're 6th through 8th grader, and that has to be done by the 8th grade, but schools can introduce it as early as 6th grade or even earlier if they really wanted to. And this is where they describe pregnancy testing, signs of pregnancy options, including abortion. So in the 6th through 8th grade, your kids get to talk about how you can do a thing. And then when to engage in sexual behavior. I'm going to tell you for my 6th and 8th grader, never.
Well,
when should you engage? How do you
what do they give?
Everyone else is consenting to sexual behavior. Like, I can't imagine seeing this. I've been a 6th to 8th grader. I would have lost my mind in this class.
So when they say when to engage, did they give you a time and a date? I mean,
they talk when should you be able to. They have discussions with the kids and let them determine when they can give consent. And everybody gets their own opinion because they're kids, and they make the best decisions. And how to access and use condoms, analyze sexual relationships versus romantic relationships. So did you know there was a difference between a sexual relationship and a romantic? I mean, not when I
was that young. No.
But I've never even had a sexual relationship that wasn't a romantic relationship. I don't even know what that means. Like, that's not a thing for me. And I wouldn't want I wouldn't want it to be a thing for either of my children. And then they also talk about child pornography, sexting, safe haven, sex trafficking, federal laws related to minors' access to sexual health care services, to let them know that they have access to PrEP for HIV, all these different things, so that your kids are completely ready to have sex. Instead of saying, you know what, there's a lot of consequences that come with having sex, you should wait as long as possible. Or talk to your mother and father about this. I mean, why is this? And it's just so ingrained. They talk about sex, they talk about gender identity, and they come up with these ideas and they just push them on your kid. And they're talking to your kid every year about them. Because really in the standards, they're really supposed to be talking about every year, not just by the end of the 8th grade, which a lot of schools try to shove it in there by the end of the 8th grade. You can go to the next slide.
I don't know. I think it's the last one in this segment. After this one, we're going to take a break and go to the next segment.
Sure. And then again, you're going to promote the dignity and respect for people of all genders, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientations. All of this stuff is all part of it. And then when they go through and and you've been promoting these gender identities and gender expressions and sexual orientations through the entire process of school, learning about them, focusing on them, over-focusing on them. Then one day, and you go to your trusted advisor, which would be your school staff, and you say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm non-binary. Maybe I'm a boy. Maybe I'm a girl. And then they can change your gender identity in the school record and call you by your preferred pronouns, put you in the sex ed class that you want to be in, let you be in the boys or girls bathroom, whatever bathroom you prefer, and then lie to your parents about it and never tell them. And that's where this all goes. That's your final end to this.
All right. Well, again, this is my wife just commented. This makes me sick. Of course, baby, I know it does. But we're going to take a break. We're going to go to the next segment, and we're going to talk about where this started in Jersey with Bill 5756. So let's take a break real quick.
The APN's The Pulse podcast is hosted by Alexandra Levine from the Alexandra Levine Life podcast. And Damon Galdo from the Jersey Shore podcast. And Seth Eisenberg from the Conservative Corner podcast. Also, there will be 2 additional guests on every episode. The Pulse is live every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
All right, so everybody, welcome back to the Jersey Shore podcast. It's SURE, brought to you by the Great America's Pulse Network. I'm your host, Damon Galdo. We have Nikki Stouffer on, who leads the New Jersey project, which is a very important project. If you just tuned in now, we'll just listen to what she has to say. And everyone, you can like and subscribe, and you can go in the chat box too. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or X or Facebook, whatever it may be, you can go in the chat box and make some comments or ask some questions, because she has a lot of knowledge about what's going on, what's being taught in our schools. And it's a shame that we have Mikey Sherrill as our governor now, that is going to keep pushing this. We're hoping that Jack Chiarelli got elected so he could put a stop to it. But we're going into Hammer 2. So this is I titled this Parental Rights versus State Indoctrination. And this is where we talk about 5756. If you want to bring up that first slide.
Parents have the right to opt their kids out of LGBTQ-related content in the same way that right now they can be removed from sex ed and health curriculum classes.
Look, I believe that parents have the right to oversee their children's education. I would push an LGBTQ education into our schools. Parents have a right to opt out of a lot of things, but this is not an area where they should be opting out, because this is an area of understanding the background of people throughout our nation. And right now we see, for example, at the Naval Academy, an erasure of history.
Well, I would say understand my background, okay? My background is no. You're not effing doing it, okay? That's my background. So go ahead.
Yeah, she obviously loves this sexualization of kids, and that's what most of Jersey voted for. I think because they really don't know the extent of the sex ed classes in school. Because like I said, the teachers may not be presenting this to your children because they're uncomfortable too, at least the good ones. They don't like it either. You know, there are teachers, the NJEA, there are teachers that are just there as activists, believe it or not. They're just activists, and they want to engage your children to have them become little activists of their own. They're there to indoctrinate, to push these ideas through, and to have them join their fun, LGBTQIA plus club in the school, which if they join, you won't know about. So, they want that. And so policy 5756 is in most schools now. If you have a very strong school board, they got rid of this. There's about over 100 school districts who've already gotten rid of this. So, or never had it at all. So you can approach your school board. A lot of people don't do it because they don't like being called homophobic. Like, I'm not homophobic if I just don't want you talking to my children about sex. I have friends who are homosexual, and when my kids were little and they said they met them, I go, well, they have, and they go, why are they have two daddies? I go, well, they just have two daddies. And they go, okay, and they go on and play. They don't need to know the nitty gritty about how the children were born. They used IVF, who the surrogate was. Like, I don't need to explain all that. You just explain it as a fact, and then you move on with your life. And they don't know. Like, I don't need to explain, well, you know what types of sex they have? I don't need to do that by this age. Exactly. They don't need to know. They just need to know families come in all different shapes and sizes. They do not need to know the nitty gritty about the sexuality and all that other stuff. And so, and the constant talk on TikTok, Facebook, the Instagram, all the things that your kids watch about gender dysphoria and identifying as all different types of genders. And then all of a sudden, this type of fad is now legitimized in the classroom by the teacher. It's a problem. And they allow the social transition to happen in school. Again, not the medical transition, just a social transition. And the school will change their name and their pronouns in official school documents, and then have a separate school document to hide it from you. So you won't see what they're calling them in school, and they'll call them something different. They create two different records in the school.
Well, let's go to the next slide because we got to roll through this segment. But we went long on the first segment because I thought it was.
And then, I already went through that. And so you can see what happened. This is just a chart of what happened over time since this has been enrolled in 2020. This has started in 2020. And this is just non-binary children over time. These are children that don't identify as a boy or a girl. And I don't know the number of ones that decided boy, transition to boy and transition to girl, but this is an over 4,000% increase over time. It subsided a little bit, but it just totally ramped up. All these kids just decided by 2024 but they're constantly hearing about it in school. Like they're constantly hearing about it on the internet. So of course they're going to choose non-binary or something strange like that.
If you have your state that is mandating something in schools, I'm trying to anyway, and it's trending. No wonder why it's going to increase by that.
I mean, it's like if the TikTok, they were doing, they did eat the Tide Pods, and then they came to school and they go, yeah, kids, you can eat the Tide Pods. Like that's what's happening. Yeah,
I know. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I know kids make other kids do stuff. There's peer pressure and stuff like that. But when adults are telling children that they can be this, that, the other, and it's disgusting to me. It really is. And I'm so glad that you have been doing what you've been doing and bringing this to light, because it's a very important thing. And you're kind of squashing it now in New Jersey, even though it's still there. But it can be still there. But you've been.
You'd be surprised what an angry parent going up to school and talking to the principal would do.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what people can do. When one person says no, because I tell people that they're just as uncomfortable with you as you are with them. And if you go and approach the teacher and approach the principal and say, you will not be teaching this to my kid, I don't want to hear about this from you, it magically stops. Because people don't like to be confronted about it.
Yeah, of course. But the thing was, a lot of people didn't know about it first until you started bringing it to light.
Right. Nobody knew about it. Actually, nobody knew about it. I talked about it so much that 5756 is now on Google. It's a policy. No other school policies are Google.
Yeah. So no, that's good.
You might want to go to the next slide too. Oh, I got this from the state data. I created that chart. So I know Mikey Sherrill says that she wants to push LGBTQIA plus curriculum in schools. But the reality is she can't, because there was a Supreme Court ruling in June 2025. And I'm not exactly sure when that video was taken, but they ruled that the schools must allow parents to opt themselves out, particularly in the elementary school, out of the curriculum that conflicts with their religious beliefs. So no, she can't push an LGBTQ plus curriculum in the schools. She's not allowed to do it. It was a landmark decision, and it's the first major one in parental rights, religious freedom, and public education. So she's not going to do that. Maybe she could do it in the upper grades, but in elementary school, and by the way, the schools must tell you that was part of it. And this was a ruling that came down when in one of the schools, and I can't remember which state, they read a book about being transgender to the kids, and they told the parents that they couldn't opt out. And that's what this was about. And they cannot introduce that concept to your kid. And they said that they have to tell you ahead of time. So if your school's not telling you ahead of time and putting things in that are like transgenderism into your curriculum, you can sue them. And there's And if you get in contact with the New Jersey Project, we can hook you up with lawyers that'll do that. They cannot be changing your child's gender identity. They cannot be introducing these concepts to your kid, particularly when they're against your religion.
All right. Awesome. Now, I was lucky enough that here in West Efford, we never had that. It got me so scared when we first moved here, and almost 6 years ago, that when this started coming to light, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I'd tell my daughter, who was 6 at the time, I was like, listen, if you hear these words, and I just gave her just certain words so I didn't have to explain it to her. I said, make sure you come home and tell dad or mom that you heard these certain words, and then that would let us know that there's something going on. But I'm so glad of everything you've done with this and putting a stop to it, because it, like you said, it's not even just not necessary. It's an abomination. It really is.
It's damaging. Yeah. Because you really don't get to be a boy or a girl, or not a boy or not a girl. The truth is that you're stuck the way you're born. And I realize that there are genetic anomalies, like if you have Sawyer syndrome or one of the other types of syndrome where your chromosomes may not necessarily identify your physique. That's a special case. Like you can't sit there and say your normal healthy body is abnormal because you think it is. That's like having Munchausen syndrome. There are exceptions to this rule, and that you have to take on a case by case basis. But if you're born into a healthy functioning body that is male or that is female, that's it. You don't get to cosplay having a medical condition.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Right. So next, you could go to the next slide if there is one.
No,
Oh,
that is the last one for this.
And that's the last one. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I only know that I would have dropped dead if there was I didn't even want to change in my school locker room with girls, let alone, and girls have
My daughter just went.
modesty thing going on where boys don't have it. My brothers walked around the house half naked. I would have never, like, boys are just like that. Girls are not like that.
We're animals. But but my daughter just went through that. The first time she had to get changed in the locker room. She said, I don't want you to change from the girls. I'm like, well, there are other girls. I said, as long as there are no boys in there, just make sure. And she's like, but there are other girls. I don't want to get changed from them and be my underwear in front of them. And I'm like, I never felt that way. I got changed in the boys' locker room when I was younger. I didn't think anything of it.
I came up with a creative way to wear biker shorts during gym days. So when I got changed, I always had like stuff underneath. Yeah. And then there's girls, like there's different reasons. Like you're all like, it's the worst time in your life, puberty for girls. Some girls have gigantic breasts, some have none breasts at all. And there's so much obsession over your breasts when you're through puberty. Like I knocked them out. I was just huge, right? Immediately.
For men too.
Right. And that, is it?
Not for us.
Breast size. Yeah. And then I was like covering up where the other girls were covering up because they're like, gee, I wish I had her breasts. And I'm like, geez, I wish I didn't have these breasts. They're so obnoxious, and it's so hard. And then having a boy in there that's not even, I mean, at least all the girls are experiencing similar feelings. A boy's not going to have that feeling. He's less concerned that he doesn't have breasts. He knows he can't grow breasts, so, are you there, God, it's me, Margaret moments for the boys,
So I know.
So that's it.
It's really
very nefarious that they bring your kids through this entire process where they continually talk about being a boy or being a girl, bringing up sexuality, telling that they are they are a trusted advisor, that you can tell them anything you want, and then they go and change your kid's gender identity without acknowledging. It is definitely nefarious. These now, whether or not the person behind, the people in the schools are nefarious, I don't know. They should be stopping it. Like teachers, but like who would want to be a teacher in this environment? I just wouldn't want to deal with it.
I wouldn't. I'll tell you one thing. If any of my children grew up to be gay, lesbian, or even thought to be trans, okay, I'd have to deal with it. I would love them just as much as I love them now.
Right.
But as an adult, making a decision. If someone pushed it on my child now,
right,
I'd be in jail. I would be in jail.
Right. Right, because you have a lot of influence over your kids. Like I talked to a kid who felt as though she might be non-binary, and I said, or wanted to be a boy, and I said, well, what can you do as a boy that you can't do as a girl? And she couldn't come up with an answer for that, and she went home and thought about it. Because I understand, like I understood her problems. Like if I could get your kid for 5 minutes, I could fix them. Like in a very caring way, just posing questions to them. And I told my daughter was a tomboy, and I said, being a girl is anything you want. If you want to wear t-shirts, then wear t-shirts. If you don't want to wear t-shirts, then wear a dress. I don't care, but the way you are is not and she loves cars. Like she loves cars, and and she loves motors, and she loves races, and that doesn't make her a boy. You can like whatever you like. It does. Your hobbies, your interests, your talents have nothing to do with this. With the perception of society pushes on you.
Yeah, and before we got to end this segment soon, we're going over, but I don't care. It's fine. But it's just my daughter's older than my son. She's 12 and he's 7. And growing up, he played with dolls because she had dolls and she would want him to play with her. And if I would tell him that he's a girl because he plays with dolls, he would think he's a girl.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's as simple as it is. People out there, that are listening, it's as simple as it is.
You know how many times I've dressed up my brothers in girls' clothes? Like constantly. And my cousins, they were all dressed like girls. All stuck them in my clothes, put lipstick on them.
Oh, they probably hated you.
No, they loved it.
Now.
They loved it. No, they were little. They loved it. No, they laughed. They laughed. They loved it. They loved
No,
it.
my daughter did to my son a couple of times too.
Yeah, they
I'm
loved.
like, don't do that. And
When
he
you're the
came down.
oldest, you get away with all sorts. When you're the oldest,
he did love it. He said, "Look at this, Dad."
Yeah, exactly. You get away with a lot of stuff, and it's okay to play fun and play pretend and and do all these things. But the reality is, you will never feel. There are differences between you and me, Damon, in our DNA, in our muscular structure, our skeletal structure, what we see, our vision, our brain, the way we think, what we notice, how we perceive the world, our taste buds. Your ability to run, my ability to have babies. Like we have completely different things going on. It's not just in the genitals like people pretend it is. There's a whole DNA difference between us, each other, and every body system that there is. Like your lung function is better, your heart function is better. That's why you'll no matter how much I work out at the gym, you'll always be stronger than I am. There is fundamentally something different, and you're lying to kids. You're giving them a promise that they can be something that they will never attain. And then when they figure that out, they're very upset.
You're right about that. And I could go, we don't have a lot of time left because I could go down a road right now to mess with my wife about the way men and women think differently. And like you just said as well. And I could crash some jokes on her right now, but we don't have the time. So we have to roll into our next segment. And so we'll take a quick break.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hammer 3 of the Jersey Shore podcast, SURE. We have Nikki Stouffer here, co-founder of the New Jersey Project. She's went through a lot of different issues what they teach in schools and all the hard work she's done to prevent that. She will be back on November 17th, next Monday, because there's so much information that she has to share. I think it's important to get out there. But this third segment, I had to go onto this, and we're going to leave that part of it. We're going to go to talk about the election real quick. We're going to hammer through this really quick because we're going to be way over on our time. So this segment is after the red wave fizzles, and we had the red wave in November, and then we just got walloped in New Jersey. Virginia did too, and so did New York City and other areas as well. And I would say the reason for it is, number one, I think New Jersey is a sanctuary state, and I believe that a lot of illegals were able to vote. We had 600,000 more people come out to vote, more than ever in a gubernatorial race. So there's that. So I don't know how many, I'm not saying how many illegals it was, but my buddy Blake Shereshevsky, sorry, it's hard to say your last name, buddy. He came up with a very a good idea of what it was too, which I was thinking about as well. The government shutdown and the threat of people losing their SNAP benefits. Now, a lot of the people that are on SNAP, there's 42 million people that are on SNAP across the country, and only 14% roughly actually have jobs, and most of them don't vote. But when you threaten to take away their food stamps or SNAP benefits, then I think, and the Democrats pushed it very hard, saying the Republican shutdown, even though that was complete bullshit. Anyone who has half a brain knows it was the Democrats.
Yeah, they would not pass the continuing resolution that would allow everybody to get paid. And don't forget about all the state workers that.
Yeah, and I think that made voters that never voted before come out to vote, and they and that's how Jack lost. That's how a lot of assembly people lost. That's how running for commissioner lost. I mean, and that's I think it was quite a few things that involved, but I think that was probably the number one, and the number two was maybe a lot of illegals voted because they give them licenses now and they sign you up to vote when you get a license in New Jersey.
Yeah, my son got his license, and he's 17, but he was able to sign up to Future Vote. You know, they don't ask for your birth certificate, or they don't, you know, they don't have any of that information of where you were born. All you have to do is click, are you a legal citizen? And then you click yes on the thing, and then on the computer, and then it says, would you like to register to vote? That's it.
Yeah, I know. So we got to get through this segment. So I'm going to play one clip, and then I'll go right into the next one because we're short on time. And this is another reason why Republicans lose, and it's a problem for me. So this is basically this is ex-Senator Ed Durr, Steve Cush on a radio show. This is Steve the Tank Cush. He tanks campaigns. Steve the Tank Cush is the leech on the ass of society. That's what he is.
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, and Steve, I'm gonna personally send you this clip. I'm gonna cut this and send it right to you, buddy, just so you know, because I'm bringing you back to the show.
Okay.
So, and Ed Durr, who is a complete disappointment. I looked at Ed Durr when he won as a truck driver beating Sweeney. I thought, wow, a regular guy can win, a truck driver. I helped him out with his campaign tremendously. I went to every fundraiser that he had. I spent a lot of money on his campaign. I had rallies for him at my house. I mean, I door knocked for him multiple times. I door knocked for him days after my hernia surgery, and when I shouldn't even be walking, because I believed in it. And then I see the way he acts. And then Beth Sawyer, they were trashing her. She was a former assemblywoman. And I don't agree with her calling in and going back and forth either. She just took the high road. But let's just play these. This is on 92.1 on the radio station that I have a show on. And I just want to play these. And this is why we lose.
Pointing a finger is making up that someone has created a phony Facebook name and has been posting stuff and then lying and saying that the state police are investigating and then, you know, sorry, former assemblywoman, to out you, and
yeah, that moron.
Yeah, and you know what, Beth did a lot for parental rights, and you know, she is sorely missed by parents. So I mean, just even pretending that she's on, I'm pretty sure has better things to do than to mess with Cush online.
Yeah, and then she called in and she had a show afterwards.
Please state your name. Why you calling?
Hello, gentlemen, and I'll use that term loosely. This is former Assemblywoman Beth Sawyer.
Let's get into it, baby. Why are you making
Let's
up
get
lies
into
about
it, Cush. Let's talk about what you've done to the Republican Party since you showed up. You've ran the most political operative disgusting campaign. You've hurt more Republicans than I could ever begin to describe. Where were you for this last election? And you're going to adamantly deny that you're John Curtis? Go ahead. Let me get it on the record that you're going to say that you're not John Curtis.
I'm not.
You're a liar.
You're a liar.
I don't know why anybody gives her credibility. She's been the disease of the Republican
who's giving you
Party.
credibility? You got slammed in an election. You should have never been on a ticket. Mickey Mouse would have won in 2021. You won with the trend. You alienated everyone. You have been the demise of the Republican Party. You two are such cowards, such cowards that you would go on a radio show and talk smack. So here, I'm not a coward. I'm
Hey, listen, don't worry about what I do.
You didn't come out and you didn't support Jack. You weren't at one event for Jack Citarelli during this.
Oh, actually, I offered myself to Jack. Jack chose not to have me.
2021 election. You weren't even around for the last month of the election.
Answer that.
Jack chose not to have me. I reached out to Jack many, many times. He chose not to have me be part of the campaign.
You got up on a debate.
You guys can't use me as your whipping board. No, sorry, can't do it.
But here's the question
Can't
for you,
do
Ed.
it. Can't
Where
do
did
it.
the $80,000 from your campaign when you ran for Senate? Where did it go?
No.
'Cause it never showed
Hey,
up
Beth,
on the elect form
you're
for
just
your
a
new
liar.
campaign.
You're a
You continue to
crybaby.
lie.
You're jealous.
You continue to act like your 5 minutes
You're
of
an
fame are over, Ed.
insignificant
They're
person.
over. You
hate
demise
the
of
fact that
Republican
I
Party.
was
You
able
shouldn't
to
have been on
do
the
something
ticket,
that nobody
and you got
else could
pulled down the
do, and I
river
did it
so that
without
Jackie
you.
Vigilani's law
You
partner
stayed
could
in
come
your
and get
house.
you. That's the only reason why you got put on that ticket.
You stayed in your house because you couldn't be seen with me because I am a pro-life and you're a pro-choice and you didn't want nothing to do with it. So deal with your tax issue. Pay your $500,000 tax issue. Stop worrying about me.
Hey, why don't you tell everybody you're really just a delivery boy for Ray Moore and Flanagan?
Yes, I'm a delivery boy. I drive an 18-wheeler delivering furniture.
Think that you're a truck
I
driver.
never
But can
said
tell
that
you
I was more than that.
Where did the $80,000 go from your Senate campaign that show on your e-elect form that never showed up again?
I'm a delivery boy. I drive a tractor trailer
I'm sure you used your campaign
hub
money
to
that you
hub.
didn't sell any books to. You.
All right. So there we go. That's
I don't like to see adults acting like that. So
that is our Republican.
I mean, this is why Republicans lose.
Exactly. And I'm sorry for everyone listening out there.
Quotes. I mean,
yeah, I didn't want to play that much of it, but I figured
I try not to do that type of stuff in public. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
know.
try. You know, sometimes you lose your temper. And
yeah, I get. Well, I see why Beth called in. They called her.
oh
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
of
like
course.
I
would've
you
if I were her
know,
too.
you
But
have to go in there and defend yourself. I mean, it wasn't really like
Yeah.
I mean, but they baited the whole thing. Like I don't know.
but there was no need for it. That's why we lose.
Yeah, I know.
What?
And then
Act
does
like
coach
adults.
need to create this kind of animosity between, you know, former like, and people don't want to run. Like,
And I
he's
get
kind
my
of
Beth. I
arrogant,
get my.
laughing the whole time.
Yeah, you're gonna make people not want to run. They don't want
Right.
to go through something like that. They don't want to have this battle back and forth and be trashed on the radio show and have to call in
Right.
and defend themselves, and then trash that person, and then it turns into just a big shit show afterwards. It's like be an adult. And then Ed Durr was a senator. You know,
Like I can't say that Beth handled that wrong because I'd probably end up doing the same thing if I mean I would never start that. Type of
I'm not
show.
saying she handled it wrong. I probably
Right, I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't start it, but I'd want to finish it like she wanted to finish it.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
if I were Beth, I would have called into the same way and
Yeah.
did the same thing. But then she went on her show, which was right after, and this it was all focused on that. But it's just the whole.
But that's why we lose, right?
The mess of it. It's the whole
Yeah.
mess of it altogether.
Right.
You know, and that's why people like that, people like Steve Cush. Steve Cush, like I said, he's the leech on the ass of society. He's a disgusting human being. And he really is. He's horrible. I mean, I don't understand how he's even still around. I thought he moved. He hasn't been around for a year. And now he's resurfacing because Ed is probably looking to run for U.S. Senate. Good luck with that, Ed. And the thing is, with Ed, I don't know.
Like I wouldn't keep Kush around if I wanted to run for dog catcher. So like,
No, Kush, I
yeah.
I don't
I mean,
get.
I think he gives bad advice and loses a lot of elections in New Jersey, and I think he's out of touch with what
He won one. He won one.
Yes, sometimes. Listen, a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could just you trip over an election and win once, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that's about what it is. And
And I do love Ed. I don't, but I just don't love to see that
Listen. I liked Ed a lot. I really liked him very much so. And after I seen how he operated after the fact, I'm disappointed in Ed. I'll say that I'm very disappointed in Ed. Especially for going after Beth Sawyer for that. Now I understand they went through the whole primary thing before.
Yeah, but you know what? There's no grace and forgiveness. Like, everybody runs around claiming to be a Christian, and I'm the only one who doesn't. And no one gives anybody grace. Nobody forgives. No one says, you know what? You did this to me, and I don't like it. And then the other person apologizes and says, okay. And then they shake hands and they make up. But we don't do that. We hold grudges forever and fight to the death.
Yeah, well, I'm not typically like
I said something to Beth that she didn't like, and she forgave me. So I don't know why they can't get along.
I'm sure I said things to Beth that
I mean, like, I don't know why that. So Beth is a pretty gracious person when it comes to that. So I don't understand why that can't get fixed. I don't think it's on her end. I think that when you continually talk about someone like that, this is what happens, and it doesn't benefit anybody. I mean, of course, it's entertaining. Like, I laughed, but it's not helping the party.
Exactly. I mean, is it entertaining at the moment? Yeah. Is it like watching like a reality TV show at the moment? Yes. But it's still it hurts the party. In so many ways, because nobody sticks together. Because Democrats will stick together,
right?
They're indifferent no matter what, and
right. No matter how wrong they are, they'll stick together.
Yeah, exactly, and they'll keep everything behind closed doors and not air it out on social media or radio or TV, whatever it may be. And you could see, a quick example, like Hakeem Jeffries, who I'm not a fan of, about endorsing Zohar Mamdani. Right. He did not want to do it. You could tell that he didn't want to do it. He avoided it for a long time. And I'm definitely not a fan of him. I'm of course not a fan of Zohar Mamdani. But he finally gave in and he endorsed him.
Yeah, I think they all think with one brain though. They don't have diversity of thought. Like, so, we have Republicans tend to have diversity of thought. They don't. They do whatever the party tells them to think, that's what they think.
So, well, in this next segment, it's going to be a real quick one. This one I give the Patriot Loser of the Week award. And this will be the first time and probably the last time I'm ever going to do something like this, except for maybe my radio show on Thursday. And then I'll put it, because I go by Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment. You don't attack your own party. And that's how it should be. But I think this one deserves it. So let's roll into the next segment.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the last segment. This is a quick one. We're going to do the Patriots and Loser Award and couple little videos at the end. One video, and then we'll go into all that. So let's start with can we start with the Patriot of the Week Award first? Let's go with that.
Shut up!
All right. Well,
really sweet.
Okay, sorry, I think your name was spelled wrong there, but that might have been my fault. But I think I changed it in the spreadsheet, but fine. But Lou Greenwald is not the loser of the week because he actually won the election. That was from last week. It was supposed to be ex-Senator Ed Durr. So
I'd rather see Lou's name up there.
Yeah. Well, he actually won the election, so I can't really call him. I would call him a loser, but he actually won. But
he voted against parental rights all the time.
Yeah,
everything.
I know. Yeah. Well, he's a loser for that. He can get it again, but I was giving it to Ed Durr for what he did and being a disappointment. But I don't know how that Lou Greenwald got in there. That was last week. But it is what it is. But it's you, Ed. You're the loser of the week. And Steve, the Tank Kush, you are always the loser of the week. I'm going to present this trophy. I'm bringing it back, buddy. And like I said, I will. I have one for you. I will hand it to you. I'll bring it to your house, whatever you want. I have a personal one made up for you, so you can carry it around with you. I have this. I'm bringing it back, Steve, because you made a comeback out of nowhere, so you can have at it.
Well, I still love Ed because he was a champion for parental rights too.
Well, yeah, I'm giving him loser week because
maybe this week, but other weeks he was my champion. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Ed, but I got to give it to you because you disappointed me. You really did. But redeem yourself, please. Redeem yourself and get the Patriot Award next week or weeks coming up. So I'll give him that chance to redeem himself because we need to get this party together and straightened up. We really do. And I think we're moving in the right direction. I mean, you have people like you that are fighting for parental rights. We have new county chairs that are doing good things, and there's just new blood that is coming up. The young Republicans that are stepping up now. Yeah. So I mean, we have some momentum. We just have to stick with it and not do what that was, in the last segment.
The young Republicans really stick together. Those young boys really, and I haven't seen any girls yet, but they really know how to stick together.
Yeah, that would be great. We got to start them off young in a good way, not in a bad way by sexualizing children. But Nick, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and everyone should be back next Monday on the 17th. And Nikki, if you want to tell people where they can find you and find the New Jersey Project.
They can find me on the New Jersey Project, newjerseyproject.org, our website. We also have a newsletter called Chaos and Control, but you can join that at the New Jersey Project website, newjerseyproject.org. And then you can find me on Facebook as Nick Stouffer because that's normally what I go though, in general. Depends on whether you speak to me. Typing online, I'm Nick, but speaking, I'm Nicole. It's hard to understand, but if you were a coder and a programmer, you would know you have a different online name than you do, a different type name than you do spoken.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. And then we're going to go into the GoFundMe for Seth, and then we'll have a little AI video I made up for fun at the end on the outro. So this is a GoFundMe for Seth. Jonah Eisenberg goes by Seth. Seth, thank you for coming up to New Jersey from Maryland for Tuesday's election. It was a great time in the podcast. But Seth, he's been in and out of the hospital with his foot. The first time I actually saw him in person was on Tuesday, and he's tall as shit. So, and he's walking with his cane. His foot's all messed up. So the hospital bills are piling up. So we started to GoFundMe for him. Well, not we, but one of the family members did, but we're advertising it. So he could still use the help to pay those hospital bills. So if you guys have anything, you add $5, $10, whatever it may be, that'd be awesome. And I guess the video, my producer just said that the video is not working for some reason. It was a Grinch video about letting kids be kids. I figured it'd be funny. I like to do the AI videos, but Nikki, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Damon. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next
look
week.
forward to Monday. So, and everybody out there, next Monday might be a little bit more graphic. Just to let you know.
Oh yeah, we'll be showing the dirty books and stuff at the NJEA.
Yeah, so just be prepared. It's going to be some graphic stuff, but we'll need to see it. So that's what it is. So, all right, Nikki, thank you very much for joining me tonight. This is Jersey Shore. Sign it off.
Generation fighters take the stand from shore to shore.